Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another StarCraft video. Now what I got for you today is something a little bit special. I am really excited for this one because it's a 3 versus 3 in Archon Mode. For those of you unfamiliar, Archon Mode is basically a game mode where several players, usually on the ladder it's only 2 but you can go up to 4, several players are controlling one base at the exact same time. Now the cool thing about this match is that we have some of the best players on the planet playing both sides of the map. So let me go ahead and get started by introducing all 6 of the pro gamers. Spawning here in the top left-hand corner of Port Alexander LE. Apparently one of the Terrans is already AFK. They're playing with the green Zerg drones. We are currently looking inside of the main base of Elazer, Lambo, and Stephano. And their opponent... Alrighty, well, I guess we're currently looking inside of the main base of Stephano and Elazer, but I've got a feeling that they've got this early game covered just fine while Lambo is on the toilet. But regardless, their opponent spawning here in the opposite corner of the map. They're playing with the red Terran SCVs, and they go by the nicknames of Special, Sol, and Kelazhur. Although apparently Kelazhur is currently AFK, I'm sure he will make his way to the computer here very shortly as well. Anyways, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen here. I do expect we're gonna see quite a couple pings here as well. Very likely that all of these guys were on voice chat, probably on Discord or something, while playing this match. So yeah, they're definitely gonna be pinging plenty. Probably to send overlords and whatnot across the map as well. But regardless, I am excited to figure out what they can actually make happen when you get to pay your full attention to, for example, microing one Reaper or one dropship, or for example, Zerg aggression with lurkers or anything along those lines. Basically, how most pro gamers and most players play Archon Mode is that one of them dedicates themselves to the macro and the production of units, and the other ones will be controlling the armies. Now, obviously, it is going to be a little bit tricky. Actually, in all the times that I've played Archon Mode myself, I usually end up arguing with my teammate instead because I'm just, you know, it's just muscle memory, right? You're so used to controlling everything by yourself. It's like giving up a little bit of control. But obviously, if you have a bunch of pro gamers here, and they're going to be able to pay full attention to just simply microing one unit, you get little interactions like this, where apparently, well, I mean, he's going to try and... He's gonna try and make a third base is what I was gonna say, but nope. It's just a sticker right there to apparently annoy the Reaper player. Look at that, right? Like, who spends that much attention on a Reaper? Well, it's not gonna happen in a normal game. But at the very least, that queen is gonna be, you know, shoved around for at least a little while. So cute though, right? A little bit of micro here already. Third base though, as we know, as the Terrans know right now, it was already snuck out by the Zerg players a little while earlier. I love that they put in the effort to write the GG sign. Obviously, that's just a spray you can put out with your workers. But so far, I mean, I'm gonna get excited for the first blood. Because I don't think any units are gonna fall for at least another little while, right? Like, I'm gonna be excited for the first blood, which will likely happen once Link speed here inevitably finishes. He's still just simply trying to bait those queens to go as far off creep as they can. I keep looking at the pings, because usually if you cast a game, it's like the observers of the game, or maybe like the casters of the game are pinging at the same time. So usually it's something exciting happening. Not the case this time around. Nice little scout there. I think they're going to go after that creep tumor. Ooh, they can try it. There you go. That's a nice little advantage. I guess that would technically count as first blood. Apparently one Zergling did go down as well. But anyways, let's have a look at what kind of strategy we're gonna see. So, very normal openers here from both players. Nothing out of the ordinary just yet. You guys know I get excited when the third gas is taken and we see some better cruiser play, but none of that is happening. Man, the Zerglings are still being microed heavily here as well, right? Normally, you can sort of go back to the base and expect there to be at least a little bit of a lull in the early game, but I feel like this one is gonna be action right from the get-go. But regardless, this is gonna be a marine-based opener here from the Terran players. They're gonna go right now into that second reactor here too, so very, very likely this is gonna be some Widow Mine play here in just a little bit too. And obviously Marines and Widow Mines are some of these units that can be microed very, very heavily. Double Evo Chamber already coming up here for the Zergs too. Really nicely done. The micro is very conservative though, right? I wonder if at some point they're gonna get into any arguments where, you know, they will try and want to commit with the Hellions. Well, this is one of those moments, right? Are you gonna commit with the Hellions? If you're arguing with your allies, I guess your opportunity is gone. At the same time, a Raven made their way inside of the main base. Did manage to get one of those drone kills. Nicely done there by Kelazhur, Soul, and Special. But I do like that where this is headed. Now, I'm a little worried, though, that in, like, a later stage of the game, I'm not going to be able to keep up with all the things. Did you see that? So, they put the Reaper right on where that creep tumor was, and then used the splash damage of the Hellions to snipe that creep tumor. It's one of those things that takes a lot of effort in a normal game, and you don't really do it very often. But that tumor did go down. Oh, man. A couple Zerglings, actually, will find their deaths over here, too. Another Raven trying to be a nuisance. The one over in the top right, or I guess the top left-hand corner over here, right side of the main base. It's gonna probably cycle towards the natural, whereas this Raven may very well try and throw an auto turret right over here. But obviously Zergs, they do have that Overlord right over there. But still, once again, a kill. Very difficult to prevent that from happening. But all things considered, pretty normal openers here from both sides. Looks like Terran is now finally expanding towards the third. They did start that one up at a reasonable time. They're now also going to add on that additional production. And actually a supply block? Oh my god. Can't believe it. You've got 3 of the top level players playing at the exact same time. Although I don't know how serious they're taking this. That was still like a 5-second supply block. Anyhow. There's a couple different directions that this game can go right now. Usually, it's the Zerg players that will try and play a little bit more defensive. They did get themselves those upgrades really early on, but they can go up to Hydras, they can even go up to Mutas, but most of the time they will stick to mostly Ling Bane and then transition towards the late game before we really see any kind of proper aggression coming up. It kind of depends on when they want to take 2-2, but usually it's the Zergs in this scenario that play a little bit more defensive with maybe some run-bys every once in a while. Now here we go though, I like this little push. A couple of Medivacks did unload their units, luckily for the Zergs. They already did have their Lings and Banes in position, so they're gonna try and see if they can clean that one up. The Raven once again moving forward. We see these Medivacks unloading, a Raven inside of the main, as well as these Hellions. There's a lot of potential, man, if you got 6 hands to micro with, right? There's a lot of potential as far as the damage output goes. And actually, these Ravens are raking in the kills. That's 7 kills there on that one, and this one in the main only has 2. But obviously, they're still gonna be useful later on as well, although I say that, kind of feels like it's stuck, eh? Might have a hard time escaping. Looks like the Hellions, though, made their way towards the bottom left-hand corner of the map as well. Zerglings trying to go up with the surround. Nicely done. Looks like there will be micro, though, to the back of those Vespian Geysers. And a couple of Zerglings did find their deaths over there, too. But all things considered, right, what Zerg really does not want to have happen at this point in the game is lose drones. And from them stopping, or for them rather, stopping this little bit of aggression is really nice because they can continue droning. Couple of Links do manage to get this around there, while the Marines were trying to target fire down whatever they can. But this is where things get interesting, right? If you have 2 players microing drops at the same time and the other dude is just simply supplying you with more army, the potential is ridiculous. The amount of micro you can pull off, it's pretty insane. 9 kills already on these. A couple of Banelings now trying to make their way towards this mineral line over here too. This is completely unscouted here for the time being. And that is a nice connection. It's gonna cost a lot of these SCVs their lives. And all of a sudden, right, all of that worker harass that the Terrans were going for has sort of been evened up. Matter of fact, now though, unloading inside of the main base right here of the Zerg as well. One of the Medivacks does end up going down, so not all of these Marines will be able to get on out of here. But regardless, they are still pulling this Zerg player attention, or these Zerg players' attention apart. Well, 2 Marines there, man. They were randomly selected for the hot pickup, and they didn't make it. Joining that Overlord in the top left-hand corner are those Medivacks right now as well, but regardless, pretty even game so far, right? Terrans are doing an excellent job just simply controlling the pace of the game. They're gonna go up to the 4th command center right now too. They already have all of the production here inside of the main base. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple more barracks coming up here in just a little bit. How many are we on right now? Yeah, it's 5 barracks. 2-2 though is just about to finish, and that does allow Terran to go for a really big timing attack. 1 Widow Mine over here, being a little bit of a nuisance. But what Terran's really looking for right now is shutting down a base and maybe even dealing crippling amounts of damage. This is the point at which Terran can start transitioning towards that much more late-game army. While this army is moving over here, though, we have another 2 medevacs unloading their units in the bottom left-hand corner, and another one right over here trying to be a nuisance as well. These ones will just barely be evacuated on out of there. At the same time, though, the Marines over here near the natural are dealing a lot of damage. The Banelings being target fired down, but man, that was a big hit. Still a lot of damage being done right there by the Terran player. At the same time, though, once again, man, whoever is controlling those Banelings, they're doing an excellent job. That is a lot of worker kills every single time, and it kind of negates a lot of the damage that Terran has been able to do, right? If you get a bunch of Banelings blowing up an entire mineral line, it 100%, it definitely evens up that advantage that Terran has. Because they're going to have to spend a bunch of time, once again, producing those SCVs, whereas Zerg is already sitting on a very, very healthy worker count. Now, what is interesting to note is that these players have a bit of a different playstyle, right? I think while all 3 of those Zergs, so Elazer, Stephano, and Lambo, like playing that more passive, laid-back game, I think it is really Stephano, who obviously is very well known for just simply taking the game towards the extreme late. He doesn't really mind playing the super late game, and he's really comfortable microing Infestors and Vipers and Brute Lords and everything that he can. Obviously, back in the day when Brute Lord Infestor was one of the most common strategies, and when it was one of the most powerful strategies, he definitely was extremely successful, but he's still very good at controlling that kind of unit composition, and I feel like he's one of those Zerg players who's very comfortable taking it to the ultra late game. So I'm excited to see if we will arrive at that point, because the amount of, like, the thing is, right, with Zerg, in particular in the ultra late game, there are so many different spellcasters that it's sometimes difficult to properly get that damage in. I mean, when you're controlling Queens, Vipers, Infestors, Corruptors, Brute Lords, and whatnot, it's very difficult to prioritize. However, if you have a couple Zerg players microing at the exact same time, the potential is most definitely there. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play out. Now, likewise, obviously, for Terran, if you're focused around Liberators and Ghosts, as well as, obviously, a lot of that bio-based army, I do think there's a lot of potential right there for Micro too, but I feel like it's really this stage in the game where Terran is going to really benefit from having several different players, whereas I think the later game is where Zerg is going to benefit a little bit more from having more hands. It sounds weird to say that. Nice little bit of Micro here, though, from all sides. I mean, it is what is to be expected, right? All these players are doing an excellent job trying to just simply stay in the game. Not really losing all too much here to any of the aggression. And there's so much army movement, right? It's so ridiculous. Can we see the APM actually? Okay. So it turns out, I think the APM is added up together, meaning that Zergs are all the way up to nearly 1100, or yeah, over 1100 average APM. That is 6 hands though, so I don't really know exactly how we should calculate that. But so far, right, while Terran is trying to overpower Zerg, which is simply sheer amounts of stuff, with a lot of Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, and Widow Mines, basically any unit that starts with the letter M, right? They're doing a good job, but Zerg is not really bothered by it all too much, right? Zerg is still looking solid. The economy is very, very strong. That is 90 drones right now for our Zerg players, and I think that's kind of the sweet spot, right? At that point, you can afford to lose these armies. You can afford to lose a bunch of your units. You can afford to lose a bunch of your workers, because you can just simply remake it all very, very easily. 3-3, finishing up here for both sides. And I do think we're going to have to see that late game transition here coming up for Terran in just a little bit. Oof. Nicely done once again, though. Even though the Hydras are a little bit weaker, they are still 100% a force to be reckoned with. Now, one Liberator. Ooh. Looked as if it was going to try and fly to its death. Instead, it's going to siege up right here. Kill a couple of those units. Apparently, one of the Medevacs also unloading. I think that Medevac, though, will probably find its death here in just a little bit. Ravens, once again being nuisance. Man, these Ravens that have been throughout this game, they're dealing so much damage. Couple of Hydras now trying to stutter step forward, trying to get one of those command centers as well. Even though there's a Zergling burrowed here, that one's gonna have a hard time landing. Don't ask me how that works. It's science, okay? Even though the command center has like little legs. It's still science. That's just kind of how it works. But I feel like these ravens that have been out in the game, and I think the first one must have died, or the second one rather, they have been picking up kill after kill after kill. Kind of cool to see that, because they're not very common in the current version of multiplayer. You don't really see people playing them nearly as often. But they definitely do show us here that they've got a lot of potential. If you have the, I guess just the brain power, right, and the APM to spend on it. Alright, so Zerg setting up a really big run by. Or I guess they could also decide to go for the counter-attack instead, forcing those Terran units once again to lift up inside of these Medivacs. At the same time, a couple of Banelings once again trying to make their way towards the mineral line, but no real damage being done there. Hydra's Lings and Banes, though, trying to take control of the base here in the center of the map as well, and I really like this one. Big drop right over here at the newly acquired hatchery for these Zerg players. That one will be picked off. Beautifully done there by Terran. And, well, I guess this Raven is just gonna continue being a nuisance. No one here is allowed to use the all-army hotkey, okay? No all-army hotkey allowed. Ooh. Wow. Big connections there. I think Terrans wanted to pick it up. Maybe they were like, you know, having two players trying to pick up, and it just got a little bit messy. It kind of looked what it, or that's kind of what it looked like, right? That was a little bit all over the place. Still, though, Terran did manage to take control of the base here in the center of the map, and this is a really, really important location. Not only is it good for mining, but obviously it's really good as well as far as like a place to build out from. But I guess I maybe spoke too, because, yep, no, that one will go down. At the same time, Marines, Marauders, and a couple Medivacs are making their way towards the base over here. Obviously, that did just end up killing a base right over in this location too, although that one felt more like a taunt than anything else, right? I don't think Zerg's really expected to start mining from that. Man, the aggression is pretty much everywhere. Another hatchery will be taken right now in the center of the map. And while Terrans really weren't able, excuse me, to put on a lot of pressure here earlier, it feels like they're starting to get the hang of it. It's all about trading efficiently and eventually overpowering your opponent, right? That's kind of what Terrans shine in. If they manage to kill one base and then capitalize on that advantage by continuously pushing and parade pushing through the center of the map, there's a lot of potential there, and this is a good pickup. Killing that hatchery actually shuts down a bunch of that Zerg economy. Hatchery here in the main, or rather in the center, is likely going to be important as well. The Medivacs did decide to pick up and get on out of there, but we are now arrived at the point in the game where I feel like all players have the economy to make that late game transition. Right, we could be seeing additional Liberator production here coming up, although Liberators obviously are a little bit so-so when it comes to late game control. You just sort of put them down and then, you know, you can't really make use of all of the micro potential that you have, I think, with this amount of players. But still, this is starting to look like a really sick game though, because no one's really at a clear advantage. Both players are essentially like trying to soft contain each other on a limited economy. And while there is definitely a lot of loss here on both sides, the damage is 100%, you know, it's not really being done as far as economy goes, right? We saw those couple of really nice bailing connections in the mineral line, and that was nice, but that was also like 10 minutes ago, right? Like, it's been a little while, and Terrans have been able to catch back up to that point in the game. So if you look at the units lost, I guess that's slightly in favor here of Terran, but only ever so slightly. Right, Zerg obviously has been mining more, which I guess... Sorry, by the way, I've got a bit of a cold, so it sounds like my throat is a mess, but it's actually not that bad. But anyways, with Zerg mining more, even though they're not trading as efficiently, I still think that's good. You see those... Oh my god, the target firing right there on the Widow Mines. Or rather, on the Banelings. That's so cool. I'm just sitting here casting with a big smile, man. This is the kind of StarCraft that gets me excited. Like, sometimes you look at a fight and you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping that the player is paying attention to those units at that point in a time. I mean, in this game, it's almost impossible not for the players to pay attention to everything at once. Well, I say that, almost a couple of Banelings once again made their way towards that mineral line. Not that many SCVs remaining, though. And I guess the Terran is going to be able to continue piling on the pressure, clearing out a bunch of that creep. Okay, so here we go. Double Spire coming up. I know that's something that Elazer likes playing quite regularly. At the very least, I've seen him play a lot of, like, Lingbane Corruptor. Maybe I've just caught him in the games where he's been doing that. But regardless, he does like going for the double upgrades and then a really heavy focus on those Corruptors as well. They're very good, obviously, at not only killing the Medivacs, but also at shutting down any kind of air presence that the opponent might have. And then they can transition towards the Brute Lords at a little bit of a later time. Still though, while both sides are trying to deal crippling amounts of damage, I've got a feeling it's not really happening, right? Once again, a couple of banelings making their way over here. Beautiful raise right there on those supply depots. There's really not that many SCVs to kill though, so I think that that is gonna be that. Another command center is being taken right over here. That one was spotted just now by those banelings as well, so at the very least they are still paying for it. We've been seeing some aggression towards this side of the map as well. I guess that one planetary is really shutting down a lot of baneling potential right over there. There's still this this area in the center of the map though, and I guess... Ooh, the banelings once again trying to get that connection. Whoa! Oh my... Oh! They tried burrowing there. A lot of those SCVs so very low. Is he gonna hold position micro? I guess he will, but... Or I guess they will. Whoever that was. They did try and do some hold precision micro, and right now there's some baneling bombs being set up as well. There are obviously a couple burrowed banelings. It's like the Zerg is saying, okay, you got Widow Mines, I can do the same thing. There's quite a few of them actually trying to be a nuisance. There we go. Softening up a bunch of that army. But the Widow Mines, man, they're trading efficiently, and this is what we saw quite a little bit at Home Story Cup as well. A lot of Terrans trying to go for the Widow Mines, forcing Zergs to respond a little bit differently than they do against that siege tank based style. I gotta say though, I really do like the addition of the Widow Mines once again. For a long time, they were very uncommon. We didn't really see them in the meta of SC2 for probably like 2 years or so. Maybe a little bit shorter, but right now with the most recent patch in SC2, looks like they have once again overtaken the siege tank as far as popularity goes. Although, wow, that's weird. Can you see that? Anyway, oh my god, oh, there's units everywhere. They're all trying to get the connection. They're all trying to get a piece of that SCV pie. But here we go. +1/+1 will be researched here. It's right after the Great Aspire ended up morphing that Zergs decided to go for the flyer attack upgrades here as well. But the Brute Lords are now out. And if there's one unit that's really good against Widow Mines, it is obviously the Brute Lord, right? Brute Lords are phenomenal when it comes to dealing with the Widow Mines, because obviously the Brutelings would just simply trigger all of those shots. Still, this looks like a really Hydra-heavy army to me, and that base will immediately be forced to get them cancelled. At the same time, though, near the bottom end of the map, we do indeed now see those Terran units trying once more to advance towards this base. Terrans have been doing an excellent job though, sniping hatcheries left and right. I mean, sure, Brute Lords are nice, but you can also just simply run away from them, right? With relative ease. That base does end up falling. The base over here also does end up falling. And even though Terran didn't look very solid there for a little while, that economy all of a sudden is taking a really, really big advantage. Apparently, by the way, there was a bit of a run by over here too. Was there actually? Maybe these are still the low SCVs from earlier. I guess they never have been held back up, but that does mean that Terran is now going to be able to start building their economy, and I think that's the most important part. They still only have 57 or 58 SCVs, I guess, right now. A couple of units once again end up dying. But once more, another hatchery falls too, and I really, really, really like this position here for Terrans. I mean, they were in a bit of a shaky spot, but there's a lot of potential here. Now, this is important as well. Big drop coming up. They're also pinging at the same time to the hatchery in the center. That is basically the Zerg lifeline right now. That one cannot fall, so some units are going to have to defend this one as well. And you see this hit squad of Marines and Marauders trying to make their way towards that location. Looks like, I think the spawning pool there ended up going down. But that's manageable. And this is where things get scary, right? I think they can just try and target fire down the hatchery. There we go. And this was pinged indeed. And they will be able to get the kill there. So Terrans are just simply trying to overwhelm the Zergs here with just sheer amounts of units, right? They've successfully shut down a lot of the economy. They've been killing bases left and right. But here are those spellcasters that I was talking about earlier. Ooh, the Vipers are looking for those abducts, trying to abduct those Medivacs into the Hydralisk. And I think they are going to be able to do exactly that. There we go. And they will be picked off. Another hatchery, though, while that was going on, was also killed right over here. And how many hatcheries is that in total? I'm trying to... Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to remember what the hotkey is. It is 10 hatcheries that have fallen so far at this point in the game. And Terrans, obviously, right? While they haven't made a lot of SCVs this game in general, they've never really been at, like, you know, more than 80 workers at any point. They've been happily dropping those mules left and right, and they are mining pretty much all of the bases on their side of the map. Zergs did have a bank earlier, but it looks like that one will be mostly depleted right now. That's the thing about Brute Lords, obviously. They're very slow. They can defend one side of the map, but only up to a certain amount. And Zergs actually now they're at a bit of a weird spot though, right? Like they're long distance mining a lot of these bases. They don't really have this left-hand side anymore. Ooh, the Vipers almost getting picked up there. There we go. Beautiful control there on these infestors. They will be able to chain the fungals, and that means that all of these Terran units will end up going down. Now, once again, we are getting to that Brute Lord Infestor Viper-based army, right? And that's kind of like the Zerg sweet spot. If you manage to get into that amount of economy, and you manage to get enough gas to produce Viper Infestors and Brute Lords, and then you go for a lot of these Corruptors, as well as just a whole lot of air units, the potential is ridiculous. Like, the amount of damage you can deal with that kind of unit, composition, if it's well controlled, is ridiculous. It's just very difficult to control. And this is kind of the thing that I was trying to mention earlier. I feel like the real strength of having this many Terran players is the mid-game. Whereas for Zerg, I think it's the late game where you can get a lot more value out of those kind of units as well. Now, this is also a big deal, actually. These Zerglings now, obviously, with 3-3 as well as Adrenal Glands, they're going to be able to pick up these command centers with ease. One medevac will be able to get on out of there. And, you know, while it's a couple SCVs at a time and it's not that big of a deal, it's actually 124 workers here at this point in the game. But regardless, while it's not that big of a deal at this point in the game, I do think that Terran has to start transitioning towards something a little bit more late game focused. So there we go. Starports are now finally producing some of those Vikings as well as the Liberators. Liberators, of course, very good when it comes to sieging away at all of these units as well. Ooh, he's trying to get the fungals. There we go. Man, they could be a basketball player for all I know, right? That was beautiful. Throwing those fungal growths in the perfect direction. But we're starting to get to the point as well, though, and that I think is also worth pointing out, that a lot of bases are running low. Players are forced to spread themselves extremely thin. And, yeah, like, the bases are running very low, and that means that there's not really a lot of... Oh, man, once again, a couple Banelings trying to get some damage in. But that does mean that we are in a bit of a rough position here as far as mining goes. I always kind of favor the Terrans, though, in this kind of scenario. Just because if you are in this position, right, you've got that Marine Marauder medevac-based army to get rid of a lot of the... like, you can sort of defend your outer bases a little bit easier, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's a little bit easier for Terran in those kind of locations, but regardless, Zerg is doing an excellent job splitting their army and not actually committing too much supply to that caster-based army either, right? Like, if you get all of your supply caught up in this slow, immobile army, you're not going to be able to defend your outer bases. Whereas at this point, we still see a lot of Hydras, Zerglings, and then a couple Banelings roaming the map. 18 Hydras and about 10 Zerglings right now remain, but we do have that Zerg Death Bull, though. Is he trying to go for the Chain Fungal? Okay, no, instead he's going to go for a couple of those infested Terrans. Yeah, they don't really achieve that much. They don't really achieve that much, but they can still deal a little bit of damage. Now the Liberator is roaming around the map. It's trying to see if it's... yeah, if there's any bases it can kill some drones at, but all of the starting bases for Zerg are fully mined out. This is nice though, right? This position here for Terran is very strong. Very critical for Terran to actually get this base up. And I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. Planetary will be finishing here in just a little bit. One mule will be dropped as well to try and maybe continue repairing this one up as well. And other reinforcing Terran units are making their way downtown, walking fast. And they will be able to get to that position. Beautiful target firing there on the Planetary, trying to maximize the splash as well. I'm basically looking at this right now, and I'm waiting for the Zerg army to make a move across, right? I kind of think that's where this game will be decided. I don't know in which favor. I mean, I don't know in which favor we're gonna see that being decided, but I do think that this Zerg Death Ball is starting to look very, very scary. And it's gonna be difficult for Terran to kill that. However, as soon as this really slow, immobile Zerg army starts moving across, it also means that Terran have got a world of opportunity to go for a counterattack. Once again, though, great fungals here. I'd like to think that that's probably Stephano trying to micro all of those. I think maybe the Brutes, yeah, I like this actually. I think the Brutes might want to head on over to this command center over here. There's not that much mining anymore. Still though, committing too much army supply towards killing that base and leaving the Brute Lords, for example, completely by themselves leaves them very, very vulnerable. And you're also going to be in trouble with this Liberator push right now. Look at the amount of Vikings as well, man. That's a lot of Vikings. How many is that? 17 Vikings right now. That's more than enough to start one-shotting those Brutes. And the Terran army, man, they're slow pushing through the center. Those Spore Crawlers that can be very useful are extremely, you know, easy to pick up. Massive fungal growth right there, though, on all of those Vikings. Actually gonna chain the fungals as well. A Parasitic Bomb at this point would be phenomenal. There we go. Parasitic Bombs are indeed coming up. Getting rid of a lot of those units as well. The Vikings, though, still up in the air, trying to see whatever damage they can do. Even a couple of those infested Swarm Eggs will be thrown on over, and they're extremely good when it comes to picking up air units in particular. One Corruptor apparently tasked with the duty to destroy that planetary fortress. I don't think it's going to happen for now. But the big fight there in the center was indeed won by Zerg. And that's mostly these couple infestors that came in from the side to land the fungal growth on most of those Vikings. Still, Terran's still mining, right? I think eventually, yeah, well, that missile turret that was constructed will be picked up as well. Infested Terrans still throwing, or rather, Infestors rather, still throwing their eggs pretty much all over the place. Another command center will be picked here, which is pretty important at this point. The Brute Lords still left at home. I think if you leave the Brute Lords at home, obviously, they're going to be phenomenal at defending all your bases. They're going to be a little bit pointless when it comes to fighting across, or at the very least, it's much more of a commitment. But these bases, man, they are disappearing. The mineral patches are being mined out. I think this is the first time where I'm getting to the point of watching Port Alexander, one of the biggest map in the map pool, getting mined out. Right? Like, we're running low on resources. I mean, the 5th bases are running out. That's ridiculous. Like, players are starting to retake those bases just to try and get some more of these mineral patches, but it's really not that many remaining here on the map in general, and the only ones that are really mining is, for example, the one over here, as well as the one over in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, it looks like this hatchery will be killed, and I think the same will happen here to the planetary fortress in the opposite corner of the map. Spores trying to get in position as well, trying to slow down this push, if at all possible. Great pullback, actually, there. I really like that. A couple of the Corruptors, once again, trying to use their caustic spray, but the Vikings are here, ready to zone away against this unit composition as well. At the same time, though, the Marines, Marauders, and Medivacs are making their way through the center of the map. They're actually going after the Infestors. That's a very good trade. Beautiful snipe there, actually, by the Terrans. And while a big fight is once again happening over here, I think this is actually the really important one. There's just a lot of Zerg left over, man. I don't know if there's going to be enough for Terrans to be able to clean this up. The Parasitic Bombs ended up dealing so much damage, and actually the Infested Terrans are absolutely shredding it as well. The planetary fortress falls, but so does the hatchery here in the center. Man, this has been an extremely action-packed game. It is so difficult to keep track of everything that's going on. This has been such a sick match, and there we go. A lot of damage is being done once again. This hatchery may very well end up falling as well. And this is kind of like the last lifeline, though. There's not a lot of mining here for Zerg anymore. Now, I want you to pay attention to the amount of minerals, and the hatchery does fall, by the way, that the Terrans have. Terran's been mining a lot this game. The base in the center is now completely mined out as well. However, they've got like no money left over. Zerg likewise though, they've got all the upgrades that they like. Finishing up +3 missile right now is Zerg 2. But the army composition, you know, it's looking a little bit stronger here. This Brute Lord Infestor Viper Ball is extremely difficult to stop. Man, okay. So the mining, it's completely shut down. Terrans do really have very little income right now. Zerg is still happily getting some resources. I'm trying to figure out where that is. It's this base. Okay, yeah, this one base over here that they were fighting over for a little while will indeed still continue harvesting those resources. And the same can be said now for where that planetary fortress was located earlier. Still, this is a scary Terran army. It's a hit squad that is meant to kill kill bases. But if the Zerglings manage to get into a mineral line with 3-3 right, as well as adrenal glands, eventually it is the Zerg players who end up winning the game. So GG to Elazer, Lambo, and Stephano. Excellent game here. And, well, I guess well played by Special, Soul, and Kelazhur as well. But man, they tried piling on the pressure to eventually win the game in the mid game, and it just never really happened, right? And then when Zerg managed to transition towards that really strong late game Zerg army, and the micro was on point, it just absolutely smashed these Terran armies. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, I can definitely try and maybe set up something along these lines. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and let me know down below in the comment section so I might be able to do more of these in the future. But regardless, for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.